So as of now, the Milwaukee Bucks have finally beaten the Brooklyn Nets after a hard-fought 7-game series. And now that they have beaten the presumed favorites of the NBA championship, I think it's safe to say that this Bucks team has an opportunity to win a championship that may never ever come again. And I know many people are going to think that I'm just over-exaggerating when I say that, but trust me. By the end of this video, you will understand why the Milwaukee Bucks, more than any other team left in the playoffs, have to win an NBA championship. But before we get started and I get into my bag, I would like to give a shout out to my second channel. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you go and do that. A link should be down below in the description box, as well as a card on the screen. I just recently hit over 1,000 subs. I post daily NBA content, and if you're interested in that, make sure you go and subscribe. But before we get into the main topic, let me also give a shout out to the sponsors, StarStock. StarStock is a new and improved marketplace for sports card hobbyists to buy, sell, and invest in their favorite athletes. Their goal is to enable sports fans to instantly trade cards like never before. Sign up today with my promo code YoungMustard and receive $10 free when you make a deposit of $10 or more. But without further ado, enough of all the plugs, let's get back to the Milwaukee Bucks. For starters, we have to look at this team's age. Looking up and down this roster, the ages vary from the mid-20s to the high 30s for certain players. Obviously, Giannis is in his mid-20s, but as it pertains to the rest of the roster, that's really where it's up in the air. Chris Middleton is 29, but he turns 30 this year, so he's kind of entering that second phase in his career more than likely. Jrue Holiday is already 30 and he turns 31 next year, so that's something to consider. Brook Lopez is 32 and it's very obvious he is in decline despite his contributions on this team. And speaking of vital contributions, that brings me to PJ Tucker, who has been very pivotal to the Bucks defense, especially in this Nets series on Kevin Durant. But unfortunately to all the Bucks fans out there, PJ Tucker is only 35 years old. He may keep himself in the best of shape, but his better years are definitely behind him. So when you look up and down this roster, if they were to win a championship and move forward with this team, because I would assume they would try to bring everybody back, the chances that you're going to get the same level of production from a lot of the players on this list is very low considering their age. But aside from age, let's just look at the state of the NBA right now. This is probably the only opportunity for the Bucks where I can say they have a wide open path to the championship, especially if the Hawks win against the Philadelphia 76ers tonight. Because even though the Hawks are better than a lot of people expect, they're just not as good as the Bucks, plain and simple. They don't have DeAndre Hunter, and Trae Young is too much of a liability to compete with the size of the Bucks. They're going to take advantage of that on the defensive end. And then as far as the Sixers go, they have Ben Simmons, so that's an automatic L. Then when you look out west, it's pretty self-explanatory why certain teams are at a disadvantage against this Milwaukee Bucks team. When you look at the Clippers, you have Kawhi Leonard, who's out with a current knee injury, and there's no real timetable for his return. Chris Paul at the moment for the Phoenix Suns also has COVID. So with those two things being taken into consideration and us not really knowing the state of those players, not only for when they're going to come back, but also their state when they are coming back, that's something that you have to consider. And going up against a Milwaukee Bucks team that has the size to be able to impose their will on the opposing teams is going to be tougher for a Kawhi Leonard or Chris Paul to have to come back in a series against this Milwaukee Bucks team. So when you look at the competition for the Bucks, I'm not going to call it easy, but it's definitely in their favor because they're the most healthy team out of every single team left in the NBA right now. And out of all the teams left in the playoffs right now, as they are currently constructed, I would favor the Bucks over each and every single one of them. So as far as this postseason is concerned, I expect the Milwaukee Bucks to be able to not only get to the finals, but to eventually win a championship at the end of this postseason, because they have the best odds to do so against the teams that are remaining. And as far as next year goes, there's no guarantee that they're even going to get back to the finals, because you have the Brooklyn Nets that are going to be at full strength, I assume, and even if they suffer an injury, let's just kind of be honest here, they're still pretty good to survive without one of their guys. It's very rare to have two star players of a big three get injured in one series, especially when one of them is James Harden, who is known for being the NBA's Iron Man over the last couple of seasons. And outside of the Nets, in the East alone, you have the Philadelphia 76ers to worry about, because depending on how this postseason ends for the Sixers, there's a good chance they're going to get a legitimate second star to pair with Joel Embiid, because Ben Simmons is just not cutting it for them. And then if you do make it out of the Eastern Conference, you're gonna have to face a Clippers team or a Lakers team, a Nuggets team, whatever team that comes out of the West. They're more than likely going to be healthy. You're not going to see a hobbled Anthony Davis like we saw this year. You're not going to see no Mike Conley like the Jazz had for a majority of the playoffs. Or you're not going to see Kawhi Leonard with a knee swellness, because with the season going back to 82 games next year, there's a good chance that all the injuries that we saw this season are not going to happen next year. And I know a lot of people are going to hear this and say this is going to be a fake ring, an asterisk ring. No, that's not my point. When it comes to championships, you need to have the talent, you need to have the experience, but you also need to have a little bit of luck. We've seen multiple years where playoff runs have been affected by injuries. Whether it's a dynasty team like the Warriors taking advantage of Chris Paul's hamstring going out, or it's a first-time championship team like the Toronto Raptors, who won because Kevin Durant got hurt in the finals and Klay Thompson also tore his ACL. Things happen. In the Bucks, this is their chance to take advantage of the opportunity presented in front of them. For Mike Budenholzer's job's sake, for Giannis Antetokounmpo's legacy's sake, and for this team's front office that has put all this money into this big three's sake, they better win the championship, because the chances of them getting an opportunity just like this is very slim to none. And we've seen the Bucks fold so many times in the postseason. Whether it's in the second round or the Eastern Conference Finals, it's always the same story for them. And this year, it just feels like it's their year. And Giannis Antetokounmpo, I gotta say, a ring better be put on his resume at the end of this postseason, because for one, that's all he needs to complete his resume, and two, you're a two-time regular season MVP, which means you should be the best player left in this postseason run. But yet, there are some people who still have their doubts about the Bucks. Their offense can be suspect, and Giannis is just not that guy in crunch time. So as far as this postseason is concerned, this is their time to shut all those narratives up and to prove to people that they're not a joke. They're not just the Clippers of the Eastern Conference. Hopefully they get the job done, because like I said, they have to win a championship this year. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But that concludes this video, you guys. Let me know your opinions down below in the comments section. Subscribe to my second channel. That link is down below in the description box, as well as the pinned comment. Make sure you follow me on social media. Those links are also in the description box down below. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.